Okay. I think we are now, yes, we are. We're now live broadcasting to Transference TV. So, to those of you that have just joined us, I'm just going to go back to my Zoom meeting and make sure I'm letting everybody in. Okay, I think I just had a little bit of feedback, so hopefully I've stopped that and you guys probably heard that as well. So this is the Pixel Elements showcase of digital works of first year MA Contemporary Photography, Philosophy and Practices. Oh no, I've got feedback again. Hopefully that's going to fix that problem of feedback. Right, where were we? I was just introducing the Pixel Elements course here and the showcase that we're going to be doing today. I have got about I think there's 8 projects that are taking up space or taking over the rooms of the Transference TV website. So you should find each of your group's works in one of those rooms. I've then put all of the groups together into the final 4 rooms. So rooms 9, 10, 11 and 12 have got all of your projects together, but you should each have a room as well throughout the site. So do share if you want to through your audiences so that we can get as many people engaging and viewing the projects as we can. I'm just going to see if I can open the chat box so that if any of you are communicating via chat, I can see that. And I need to just open one more document, which is going to show me all your groups, and then we can get started. Yeah, so we've got Ian's project in room 1, Anastasia's project in room 2, Simon's project in room 3, Daniel, Checo and Tree's project in room 4, Alexis, Lan, Yanyao and Anne's project in room 5, I believe, and in room 6 we've got Ruying's, room 7 is Stella's, and room 8 is Wendy's. There are a few other projects that may or may not come to fruition through today's discussion. We'll have to see who attends and if they want to share. But now that these projects are live in the website, they can stay live for as long as you're happy for them to remain accessible. You will have kind of activated your projects through live websites, and maybe they've got a timescale attached to them. But if you'd like to keep them live through the site, once this project and today's discussion has come to an end, what's happened in previous years is that all of the artworks that have ever been made through Pixel Elements that remain and have a legacy to them are put into the site so that you can see all of them, as a continuous engagement. So do let me know if you are happy or not to remain within the site. And by way of introduction then, Pixel Elements has been a course that I've written, so it's kind of rooted within my own art practice, and I'm interested in the evolution of technology and the way that we understand the role of the image and how the role of the image has maybe kind of shifted and changed over time in terms of our the way that we might communicate and understand who we are, to kind of bring the focus back to ourselves within this new kind of digital landscape, how it might affect how we think about who we are, the behaviours that we adopt, the people that we connect to, and essentially, the way that we communicate. And how do we communicate a practice? Our art practice is another form of communication, but we're also all, as much as we may or may not want to be engaging in the digital, and pretty much all of us are in some way, and so how do we kind of disseminate our ideas through these different digital platforms so that we can maybe benefit or reinterpret our practice. So Transference TV was built in 2021 during lockdown and COVID, and it was developed as a platform for hosting the very first MA interim show online. That was a collaboration of students from your course, the MA Contemporary Photography course, but also MA Fine Art and MA Art and Science. So it hosted over 100 students' works, and was a place for kind of live broadcasting people's practices throughout that exhibition. And so today, we are putting the focus onto you guys, and the discussion will be led by you and the questions will be led by you in relation to the comments and feedback of how we are engaging with these projects. I'm going to do my best to share my screen with these online projects that you've shared with me, but it may work better for you to share your own screen. And we'll go from room 1 through to room 8 as a kind of way of structuring today. And I think if we have around 10 minutes per person, that should kind of fit us in with the timescale that we've got. So if we start with Ian, let me just see if I can share my screen. Okay, Ian, if you want to take your microphone off of mute and maybe guide us through the site.
Oh yeah. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And as you can see, this is my website called the Sound Poetry. And when you go to the homepage, the first thing you can see is like this. It has the name of my site and demo video. Yeah. Uh, then you click the title and it takes you to the page where you can see my work here. And I've written two of my sound visualizations about real-time interactive programs. Yeah, the first project I call it your own voice poetry. Here you can create images in real time through a microphone and save the final image. Yeah, you can click it. Yeah, yeah. Oh, doesn't work. Yeah, and because I think can I share my screen? I think it
Yeah,
okay.
let's try and do that. I'll stop sharing
Okay.
mine.
Oh, inside I can't share my screen.
Okay, I'm just changing the permissions now. 1 second.
Oh, okay.
It should work now.
Yeah. Mm. Oh, okay. Can you say it?
Yes, that's working.
Okay. And oh, okay. Yeah, and because this is I think it's a personal space, and you can tell your own story or say something that you would like to say in reality, but don't dare to do. Yeah, finally, it will create an image that is something like some kind of symbol. Yeah, the images what I mean is the image looks similar, but actually, because everyone's voice is different, so it never creates the same image here. And I think that's in some sense represents the differences in each individual, maybe. And okay. Oh, and you can you already saved the image. Yeah, can say it. Yeah, and then the second piece is from my interim show, called "The Language Fungi," which I changed a bit to make it more suitable for the online work. It's still a sound interactive program. Yeah, as a microphone records your voice, this fungus will start to grow and finally climb up to the top and cover everything. Yeah. Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, it's like this. Um, and I think when these two works were put together, I found one thing is very interesting. The first work creates images that looks the same, but actually different from each other. But the second work, on the other hand, looks messy and free, but in fact, their rules are programmed every time. Yeah, I think this is the magic of language. Uh, on the one side, language shapes our world and can be used to make it cover up things. And on the other hand, language reminds us of what makes each individual different. Yeah, this is how I interpret my work. It may be a bit shallow, but that's how the program works, and it can be left to the online audience to make their own sense of it. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you for that, Ian. Will this site be developed even further, or do you think both of these are kind of in finished states now?
Yeah, I think I maybe I'm going to keep developing it. Yeah.
It's interesting what you said about just now, like maybe it's a bit shallow. What made you say that?
Because I think I don't put too many maybe meaning on it. uh, yeah.
I think it's an interesting thing to pick up on, and especially in relation to the fact that you talked about the algorithm that you're and the coding that you've put together within this site. And I wonder if that could be a point of discussion in terms of thinking about the digital and thinking about how we are kind of led by algorithms and by, you know, the way that someone might want to affect the way that we look at something or spend time with something or what we're presented by online. I think there is an element of shallowness to it and, you know, surface level interaction through biasness and through assumptions and you know, presumptions that we might, if you like this, you might like that, and that can be applied to everything from products that we might want to consume to information that might impact our day-to-day lives to kind of political rhetoric. So I think that's a really valid point to make and actually could be a real strength to the way that you interpret this project rather than seeing that as a weakness. Okay, so we've got a couple of minutes. I'll just open up to the floor to see if anyone else would like to contribute any comments or thoughts about Ian's two very successful interactive artworks. Please do take your microphone off if you want to ask something.
I think that one of the discussions that we had before about this, about Ian's work is the possibilities of taking it out and all the things that you could do with the voice and with the sound in terms of trying to, I don't know, some of the things we were saying, Ian, is like take it to a karaoke and record, make an image of a song, or maybe with a band, or maybe how does a demonstration sounds, and you can do several images about anything that makes sounds. And I think that's really, really, really powerful with Ian's work.
I could just build on what Checo said there. To me, you've Ian, you talk about language because you're speaking and saying something, but it does seem to me it is more like, as Checo says, it's more like about sounds. It's reacting to sounds, isn't it? And things that happen at a particular time rather than words. It may be the sound of the word, but not actually the content of what's being said. So I just sort of think I find that the really interesting bit around, as Checo said, take the sounds in all different areas. That might get you more distinctive patterns.
Thank
I
you.
think that's an interesting point, because there's also something about the relationship that we have to our devices when we're looking at websites. Often we're on our own, and there's not many situations apart from those that we're in right now where we might be talking to the screen. Often we're kind of engaging in information in a silent way, aren't we? Through consuming images or listening to something that's already being played online. Our own performance to screen is often quite quiet.
Yeah. And there's one more thing, because during the interim show, I made it into an interactive installation, but I found that people were just making sounds like and or hello 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 into the microphone, but they didn't say anything. But in the online space, maybe people will let their guard down and say something that's really meaningful or important to them, and then get encrypted into a symbol by this program. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's the next step for you and for this project, is to really think about that connection that the audience has to producing sound. You know, what are you asking them to do? You're kind of reliant on them for this work to be completed and to be generated. So, you know, when we're kind of asking a lot from the audience to contribute towards the work, what's in it for them as well? So, you know, you can kind of promote this as a project that has an outcome, because you get this image produced at the end of it. But you need to kind of choreograph that and compose how that can be created. But thank you very much for sharing, Ian. It's great to see how these things can sit within this space and how they can respond to this platform, and how we've had you know, kind of valuable discussions along the way. So we can move on to our second room, room 2, which is with Anastasia. I will share my screen first and we'll take it from there.
There's nothing complicated there to work. Fine.
Okay. So yeah, over to you, Anastasia, to talk us through the project.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of words. In my practice, as you all know, I research human material connections and relationships, and I think about how technologies separate us from our consciousness and the material world, and manipulate our emotions to distract us from the fact that everything has body, and even if it's invisible to our eyes. So I've made this project, which I call the carbon-based reconnection practice, where I use coal as a representative of carbon and as my main protagonist, because coal is us living million years ago, and it's old and wise and very material in a way. So I've made images of coal, manipulated them into some kind of funnels using cargo, and called it the trans-inducing machine that can be used to descend into the depths of our consciousness to find and restore our connections with our bodies and its materiality. So yeah, of course, it is ironic and paradoxical project because it's not easy to kind of work with materiality in online space, but the dominant discourse of materiality of everything connected with technology is a bit disturbing nowadays, I think. So I'd like to counter it a little bit with this project. That's it.
I'm just going to play the sound now as well.
It should be working on desktop and on mobile screen as well. So it's
What was that, sorry?
portable. Yeah, it will be working on mobile devices as well. So it's portable.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So to pick up on what you just said, you said that often the discourse around materiality online is quite disheartening. I can't remember the word that you used, but could you expand on that a little bit?
I was talking about that the material discourse now, well, it's about immateriality of technology, which kind of shifts our focus from material part of the world we live in, and from the fact that everything has bodies, like our computers has bodies, internet has bodies somewhere, like servers and wires, cables. So yeah, it's kind of case study on that.
So do you mean that the focus around the materiality of technology is not focused on the body enough? It's talking more about the materials that are needed to produce the devices.
Yeah, I think it's basically like they talk about clouds and how everything is like now invisible and yeah.
I see. Okay. So it's often overlooked the relationship that technology might actually have with the physicality of the earth.
Yes.
I think this is something that James Bridle talks really well about in that book, Ways of Being. You know, your project, the sound, when we talked about the sound before, you talked about that sound coming directly from open source software of recordings from mines.
Yes.
So you are interested in the extraction of the earth and maybe thinking about the body as a body of carbon and coal and the extraction of the earth and the relationship that that might have to the body is something that you're aligning your practice with. Would that be right?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I think about carry on.
You do.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that thinking about coal, I think it's interesting to think about temporality of the earth and how basically with extracted material we see how we can like decipher how the earth self-recorded herself. So it's kind of the way of communication with immaterial world, with artificial world, so to say. And coal is this form of plants or animals that used to live million years ago. So it's us in a way. Well, if we could be born like million years ago, that would be us. So
yeah, I think that context is rich with not only kind of critical analysis of the current situation that we might see ourselves in terms of climate change and in terms of you know, the kind of battle, physical battle through war for territory that might be rich in oil and other resources across the globe. But I think something that we do maybe forget to discuss is that direct relationship to the body. And I also am interested in this within my own art practice, thinking about the earth and the way that we call it the Mother Earth, and thinking about, so I'm kind of exploring similar things, but from the perspective of being a woman and being a mother, and thinking about everything that you have to give as part of that role, and how we might be kind of extracted from and kind of exhausted to the point of kind of, you know, there's nothing quite left to give. It's hard, you know, to provide physically, emotionally, mentally, and kind of through all these other kind of vessels of the body that you could compare to the earth. So I'm super interested to see how your practice develops. Maybe how do you feel about using digital landscapes further to develop this idea, or we go back to working with the physical material realm?
maybe we'll see. Yeah, I'd like to do this as well. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah.
Any questions from the rest of the group before we move on? Or comments? How did you find the interactivity of the site and the engaging with the site? That's to the rest of the group.
I haven't really had a chance to do that in this context, but I will later, because it's a bit harder sitting here. So I'm looking forward to playing with it later.
I can, I should probably put the, well, no, because you can access it through Transference TV. I was going to say I'll put the link in the chat, but no, it's already there. Yeah, do have a go, because I think this project in particular is just, you know, it's super simple in many ways, but I think through its simplicity, it's quite successful, because it's quite easy to understand what you're meant to do and how you're meant to engage. So there's a lot of clarity there, and kind of the investigation that you can conduct around what you're looking at for yourself means that I actually found myself wanting to spend a bit of time with that site. And we've often talked about our attention spans being very short. And so when it comes to making works that sit within this digital space, we're always competing with how much attention we require from the audience. And in contrast to Ian's project, which requires a lot of engagement, this one perhaps not so much, but kind of is quite successful in the way that it's quite easy to engage. So thank you very much for sharing that, and we can move on to room 3, which is Simon's project. I'll just share my screen.
Just to say, there is sound on this, but if you put the sound on, I have to give a language warning, because the man who made it for me gave a commentary, and he was when he was in the rain, he was quite excited. just going back to the beginning, though, my practice has been developing this year, and it's focused around social issues that annoy me, or just I believe I haven't got enough attention, and that's the sort of thing I've been looking at, and most particularly in the last few months, I have been focusing on homelessness, and in particular in London. And my own works that I've done for Crits have been based on trying to highlight what I see as the level of inequality that we suffer from, of being all of these statistics and the people that we see on the streets in one of the richest cities in the world. So from my point of view, and I understand the point of view that I am coming from, I feel my best way into expressing it at the moment in art terms is around highlighting that inequality. For this website or this page, I've thought another way that I could add to the debate is in raising awareness through art. And so this is just the start of something where I believe it's putting either putting the camera in the hands of people who are affected by the issue, like the video that is being shown here. It's been taken by Wayne, who sits in Aldwych most of his life, or in Covent Garden, selling Big Issue, and he is literally on the breadline of about to be kicked out of a home, has all the mental health issues that go along with that, and he's I got to know him a bit, and he agreed to do these videos for me. And then the other points as you scroll down is actually thinking, well, what are some of the projects related to art projects related to homelessness at the moment that I could be drawing attention to on this site? And one of those below is a very recent thing. There is a charity called Museum of Homelessness that started about 10 years ago and actually helps people on the streets. But it's founded by two artists who use art themselves in showing the message. And they have just acquired a property in Finsbury Park and have established a physical museum of homelessness where they put on a performance that lasts 90 minutes, and it takes you through objects curated in a way that you might think was in a museum, but they take very ordinary objects and show those. So this is an encouragement for people to go and see that. And then further down the page, a recent thing that I've found is a book of poetry written by someone called Chris Bird, who was an undiagnosed schizophrenic who spent about 10 years on the streets and wrote a book of poetry and produced the artwork for it. And just by coincidence today, I've been talking to the publisher of this book and asking about getting in contact with Chris. And I've been invited to go and meet him a bit later on, which is where I may disappear from the screen. It's because my idea, I would like to record Chris reading his poetry, not necessarily filming him, but I'm going to work with him on that. So this will be the first time I've met him. I think it'd be interesting to see there's a way that I may help him, or just ask him whether he wants that help in developing, getting a wider audience for the book, because the book at the moment, like lots of books of poetry, is struggling in its sales. And then just lower down the page, I've set out a vision for the site, which is the raising awareness. I think in going forward, and the thing that occurs to me, hearing the discussions and thinking about getting more interaction with people who might look at it, I think the next stage, which obviously requires the editing, is to say, could people who look at it, if they've come up against art that they think is relevant for this area, actually to start getting third party or viewers to put something on themselves that think might be relevant, and have it as a sort of so to have an open page where people could post things that would add to the meaning of the site, rather than it just being something that I've produced.
I think that could be a really great opportunity through this site to engage not only in the communities that are, you know, kind of unhoused around the city, but also allowing other people to share projects that may not be getting the promotion that they maybe deserve, like you picked up on with this book, or maybe it can be a place to kind of help support, you know, various independent projects that are tapping in. So that could be a great development to push this forward as well. A bit like it's an online gallery, I guess, is what you're. You kind of created two things here. It's like an online gallery space to house the artwork and projects from other artists, such as Book of Poetry, such as the performances taking place in this location. It's also somewhere for you to commission artist works. But it's also an organisation that it seems as though you've kind of set up here. Maybe it's a charity in itself. Maybe it's, something that can provide your practice an opportunity to expand its research, but also a place for you to kind of legitimately kind of like and professionally collaborate and connect and network. How do you feel about that in relation to your practice, kind of having set up something that's quite it's more of a kind of institutional approach rather than a practical art practice approach?
I agree, but I think it may be I'd like to continue with my own, not representations, other sort of art that I'm inspired by, but I think it is something that I might have the skills for and the aptitude for, and the ways of working with people that I think could be an effective way of taking it on. It sort of appeals to me. The one thing I have got concerns about is the number of people who play in a particular field. It always worries me when there are a lot of charities in a particular area, and it certainly wouldn't be a charity around money or anything like that. It would be purely very non-financially based, purely there as a philanthropic, if that's rather the grand word, but a way, how can one, you know, sort of make sure people have a voice who might not have a voice otherwise, and if I can help that through resource or anything else, then I'd like to. I really admire the people from Museum of Homelessness, though, because they really have been doing it's almost a sort of piggybacking on them in a different way, but I've got some ideas about how something that I might do in my practice that may be better done by them, if I can say, because they do something like there is a thing where the National Audit Office is going to stop counting the number of deaths from homelessness during the year. They started to thinking that, you know, thinking that that's not a helpful thing to do, but Museum of Homelessness has set themselves up to do that. And then I think each year they normally go to some places and light a candle for every person who has died on the streets. But I think there could be more activist works that one could take to Parliament or something else like that might make it more, because we talk about a climate crisis globally. We have a housing crisis nationally, and it is based on a terrible housing policy of Margaret Thatcher that has then developed into the fact there isn't enough social housing around. And I think no government has paid that enough attention. So I'm afraid I'm being unashamedly sort of activist artist, if you term it that way, in this respect, which is something that does appeal to me. No. She left the meeting. He fell asleep.
Can you hear me?
We can now, yes. I wonder whether I bored you to tears and stopped you.
I just got my Zoom just said this meeting is disconnected, but it didn't happen to anyone else. So I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Yeah, that's
I'm definitely not bored. I was like, what? Please. You were talking about the Museum of homelessness and wanting to make more of a kind of political statement and kind of touch on the issues with social housing, and that's when you cut off.
Yeah,
me.
I think you just about heard it all, but you know, I've got this idea you could almost take for every person who's died, take a sleeping bag, maybe fill it, you know, whatever, and put that outside Parliament. You know, have a sort of really quite a major sort of thing that people see, MPs see. Just could be quite, you know, rather than lighting candles of somewhere, try to make more of a political statement around that every year.
Is that something that you might intend to do quite soon, seeing as there is quite a big election on the cards?
Yeah, no, I think we have to work out the next time they collect the numbers and things like that. But yeah, and possibly because you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of sleeping bags, so I think that might that's where I'd work with the Museum of Homelessness to sort of think, well, if this was an idea, what, you know, how would we go about doing that? But
Have you been in touch with them yet?
Yeah, no, I sort of I went to one of their early shows, and I met Matt and Jess who formed it, and I've corresponded with them since, because they have some really great references around photographers who they've worked with in the past as being people who they believe have done it in a sympathetic way. And I've been looking at an archive in the Bishopsgate Institute of some pictures that were taken in the 70s and 80s in Spitalfields. And another thought that came from that is and in Holborn, is to take those photographs and almost to update them and just show what's happened to the world since then, because Spitalfields is completely different. It's been turned into a shopping centre for the people who live in the city and things like that. So I've got some ideas. There's 2 or 3 references they've given, and I said I'd stay in touch. So they're very, very interesting people who use their clients at the museum. That's who check you in. There's people working in the garden there. You feel a sort of very definite interaction. But the only sort of comment I've made to them is that everyone there, you get 25 people at a time come in and have the presentation, but it does feel like it's preaching to the converted. And it's this really difficult thing of how you get to the people who have got the stereotypical view of homelessness, and how you break down the picture of the extremely complex reasons for why people or someone may be lying in a heroin daze on the streets. It's not just because they love doing that and they think that's a great way of living. So it's beating down some of the common misconceptions about homelessness.
Well, it's great to see a socially engaged project within the Pixel Elements course, and thank you for kind of expanding your research into this kind of landscape, and for educating us on what is out there, and kind of how your project might be able to kind of support that ecology. I will open up to the group now. I'm keen to hear from other people about Simon's project and how it kind of has affected or affecting or made you think in a particular way.
I think that your job, like your practice, has been really important in terms of trying to tell the stories of people who are usually disregarded, right? They're like they're trying to be like everyone tried to avoid looking at them. So I think it's really powerful in terms of making visible the kind of violence they're suffering just by not being looked at, right? So to have these stories and this like kind of documentation of what is going on, I think it's really powerful in terms that it actually has the possibility to change their lives, right? To have a record of what is happening in the streets and the problems of the housing crisis, I think it could take it's important to take a stance in terms of modifying the politics of housing and making a better politics for housing for everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Checo. That's appreciated, and it's sort of interesting you mentioned the word violence. Yes, people have to suffer; they have the threat of violence, but I also want to avoid the violence, which can be people like me taking photographs of them. Which is in itself is sort of making sure that this is done in an empathetic way that they are, they feel comfortable with, and almost other people have put the camera into the hands of people who are affected by this, and literally let them set up the camera on a tripod and just be there and take their own portraits. But I find the portraits quite a difficult way to do it. I've been reading the Civil Contractor Photography recently, which is where actually it's been shown some of the most effective portraits are not portraits of the people, but it's the people actually holding up something like a broken padlock in Palestine, showing that someone has come in and broken into their home. It's that kind of story that would be really helpful. But thank you, Checo. It's really helpful.
I'm really glad that you brought up issues connected with ethics and empathy in relation to this project. I think that's really important to have a position and to understand the position of the people that you're working with, to allow them not only to have a voice but to kind of have dignity within their role within the project. There is a policy through the UAL website on ethics and empathy when it comes to working with others that it might be worth refreshing your memory on. And I just wanted to pick up on just something small that sort of stayed with me that Checo just said, which was in terms of being seen. When I'm trying to kind of place this project within the wider context of Pixel Elements and this course, to be seen, to be looked at, to be photographed, it's kind of, there is a connection here to kind of being, to not being seen, to being kind of like, what does it mean to not be seen? What does it mean to kind of want to be seen? And how do we use technology as a tool for being seen? Whether that's something where we can kind of fabricate a narrative around who we are, or whether it is kind of revealing the truth of a particular situation connected to our personal lives. But there is something interesting here about kind of to be looked at, the idea of being looked at, and the devices that we might use to do that. So thank you. I hope this afternoon goes well, where you're going to be recording the guy reading his poetry. Is that right?
Yes, that's right, Chris. It's sort of this is the first time I've met him, but with the publisher. So I'll just say, look, this is just really low key. I'm just coming along with a phone, and just see how that goes. And because if he's uncomfortable, fine, just stop doing it, things like that. But one could develop it into I think, quite interesting film. But that's a very long-term thing. Let's just go step by step first and just see how it goes the first time. How might you document it this time around? Oh, just literally on the recording, asking whether he minds. I was thinking of just having a video running while he reads it, but not looking at him. I think there's really an important thing of saying, how does he feel about himself? How does he feel himself be on the camera or otherwise? And I don't think I'll know that until I've met him or otherwise, but I really want to take that very, very slowly. Let him dictate the speed for that. Will you document through your phone? Oh yes, yeah. At the moment, the video camera through your phone. Yeah. No, I've got other more sophisticated things, but I just didn't want to intimidate at that point. When he first heard about it, he thought I was going to take him into a studio somewhere, and I'm just saying, no, it's not like that. This is just really okay. And I think there's something, even if there's sounds of the street in the background and things like that, to be honest, I think that adds to the whole feeling about it, rather than it being some kind of something from Poetry Now on Radio 4. It's it's a different kind of poetry.
Okay. You can actually get quite sophisticated add-ons to your mobile phone devices now for film recording. So if you did want to continue working in this way, you could maybe look at the additional microphones that you can plug in that have got the fluffy kind of cover to protect from wind noise and traffic, and whether you get an omnidirectional or a directional microphone. And you can get these little tripods, so instead of having a handheld camera, you can have the tripods. But and you can even get these tripods that are on wheels now, so that you can do nice panning shots. And there's all sorts of things that you can get.
Yes, I won't show my gimbal yet.
Oh, you have got one already?
Yeah. I won't show. Not yet.
Okay. All right, Simon, thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's move on to room 4, which is Daniel, Checo and Tree, with our project called Rubbish Land.
She lays back here somewhere. Right? Don't look so unhappy.
I have to, yeah. Well,
Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, so over to you.
So we were talking and we decided to work with the idea of the Pacific Ocean as a place of meeting between 3 of us, because Tree is from China, I'm from Colombia, and Checo is from Mexico. The 3 countries has they touch the Pacific Ocean at some point, and we tried to figure out how we were connecting to each other and how we access to some things they exist, like without being able to belong to them. Like since our childhood, we match with a lot of TV shows, video games, and etc. through could be like non-legal or the way of doing it, like the right way of having a video game or access to those shows. And we thought that as the oceans and the internet, it's like you're not only searching on the internet, but you're surfing on the internet, navigating through it. So it's related to those things, and how we access to some common things now. It's how we used to do it. So it was through online access, through piracy could be at some point. So we start looking at as internet, it's full of also garbage. The Pacific Ocean has some garbage islands. They are floating in the oceans, but they're not able to be seen on through space, through satellite images. So we wanted to put it on the website. So we decided to build this place for communicate on our ideas about the garbage and about piracy, and how this could be a conversation through these ideas. So we decided to we did this website has 3 like tabs, like our own websites, and they touch some of these points. The pirate ship is it's linked through my website, that it's a video of if you can click it on it, you will go through another. Oh, that's a sound.
Yeah, that's a sound.
That's a sound that Tree made. and there is a video compilation of the screens that it will appear on video games, on DVDs and movies, and when you were playing those those records or those video games, you will find these images on if it was pirate, it was a pirate copy. So it's a really long video, like 17 minutes, of a compilation of those pirate how is that like
Anti-piracy.
yeah, like anti-piracy, and how the game will crash, and how those messages are saying that, oh, this is legal, you will go to jail, this is FBI anti-piracy warning. And I grew up, I think we all grew up, both of at least Checo and I had with that idea, because we found out that in China they don't have that image of piracy, of getting into this software and not buying it or download it from internet. It's not like piracy, it's more like a West idea. So what I did was like, oh, I have found this so many times, like I'm a pirate, and I'm still a pirate at some point here also, because there is some things that we cannot afford because of economy, because of many things we cannot afford, like access to cultural products, and also like books or video games or TV series, or today platforms that it's like the main cultural knowledge at some point. So I do like how this could be really long, and how they have so many efforts to make you feel guilty to have their this, yeah, to be able to play a video game, to make you feel like you're stealing, like you're robbing them. And I don't know at which point this is true. And also, like, this is a statement of, we don't care, because we are always like we are doing it, like it's part of the main culture. Like, you know, I don't think like Nintendo or PlayStation or Sony or Microsoft, they are not like broke because a lot of people had their software pirated. So I think this is also like a statement of, at some point, we don't care. Like, we don't care because we understand like how this reality works, and it's not like we are doing some yeah, like we're not hurting anyone as they pretend to. And also, I think if you click the chip again, you will back to the main website. And there is also like 2 island of garbage that take you to the Trees and Checo's website.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is my website, and you could play the music in this video. Is there any music? So this is a video that I have the eyebrow downs with the sound of the waves. And this video, it means like when I'm watching the internet, I am pushing the information on the internet. It's they're pushing me, like my body are controlled by all these informations. And it's kind of like a kind of colonizing process, because we have all these informations in our daily life, and they will drive us to do something. It's like a ideology stuff. And if you go down a little bit, there is a archive. There is a archive that I made. It's about an island that when I'm searching the Google map, and I found an island called Xugong Island, and because it has the same surname with me, so I start to do some research about this island, and there was a developing event happened in this island, because it's occupied by an international company, and they decide to make this island into a tourism island with like a lot of like houses and harbors with like very fancy tourism stuffs, and due to this, the people on this island, they are moved out of this island. So for me, this is a kind of new colonialism, like goes through with the economy process, and all the words, the texts from these books, they are collected by myself on the internet, and so after that I make all these texts into like a colony report about every colonies that they will do in the past time. So yeah, this kind of remake that could reveal how this daily information that shapes this colonialism ideology in our daily life. Yeah. So if you click the boat, it will catch the boat. Yeah, it will go back.
Another thing that I personally think is important is that when we were trying to build this whole concept, Daniel shared with us a text about trans-colonialism, trans-Eurocentrism, and it places the center of the world in the Atlantic Ocean because of the relationship between Europe and the United States. So another thing that we wanted to do with this side was to dislocate the center of the world and take it to the Pacific Ocean. If you like, so that's also why we choose the Pacific Ocean as a way to put it in the center of the website, to dislocate that Eurocentricity, that Western idea of being the center of the world, and to take it to the developing countries. If you click again to the third island, the one is floating around Mexico, you can see in the middle of the site there's an image. If you could click it again, it's gonna disappear. I did like these collages that taken some well, there were pictures of the trash that I found on the streets in the streets of London, and I mix it up with some images from Greek culture, but also from a sculpture of a snake that is in the British Museum that comes from Mexico. And I was inspired to do this by this quote of Walter Benjamin that says that every document of culture is every document of culture is basically a document of barbarism. And one of the things that I got really interested in the text that Daniel shared with us was this idea that the idea of Aristotle being a Western philosopher was only possible because the Spaniards were able to recolonize their own territory because they were extracting the silver of the mines in Mexico. So I think that Aristotle is seen as one of these big minds that was like on the foundation of the European identity, and to understand that through barbarism, through colonialism, they were able to have the money enough to reconquer the territory from the Muslims. And because Aristotle was seen by that time as a Muslim philosopher. So to Spain to be this first modern state nation had a lot to do with them conquering Mexico and starting the extractivism on a land that wasn't theirs. And also that colonialism is based on the idea that the native Mexicans that were living there were actually savages, right? They found that the culture there was barbaric, so that was the perfect excuse to kill them and to extract their own to extract their resources, right? So I really got caught into to this idea of the documents of culture and the documents of barbarism, and with this idea of disassembling the Western identity of culture and take it and reflecting back on what does it means to have culture.
So I think this is like a statement, a three corner statement about Eurocentrism, and how the idea of like identity and property are something that began in this modern era, in the Eurocentric era. And we wanted to make an statement about it, establish a statement about that, and also because the text that Checo was talking about, it's like how we born in an era that at some point we are not belonging to, like we don't belong to the center of the world, that we are all part of the peripheria or part of the outside world, the third world could be called. So we wanted to settle our own center of the world and make it ours, and we don't matter if there is this previous big like colonizer. We don't want that. We want to understand the world as our own, and not denying what we have to live before, but how are we relating to that?
I think the way that you've communicated these ideas through the website is quite light-hearted, even though the crux of the position and the kind of the issue that you're talking about is you know, rooted in the barbaric nature of colonialism, and it's quite, you know, it's heavy, it has heavy consequences. The way that you were just talking about it is like, you know, kind of reappropriating your own identity into this world is quite it comes with a lot of issues, a lot of problems, because there are all of these kind of things that are already in place that you have to kind of battle through in order to kind of re-establish the history of who you are and where it's come from. Could you talk a little bit about that kind of light-hearted nature that maybe the projects have, or what the element of I guess I see the aesthetics as being light-hearted, maybe, and I guess that is because it's kind of come from computer games a little bit, but also, I don't know, whether there's like a playfulness to the site. If we just go back to Checo's as well, I'd like to learn more about the text that's in the background, and also for all of you, all three of you, kind of how a bit more information about how things have been produced. Like, how did you get the ship to float around, etc. If you're happy to do that.
So I think in my case, one of the reasons I choose that kind of aesthetic and that kind of playfulness is because sometimes culture products are regarded like to be really serious, especially when you go to a museum, you're supposed to be quiet and you have to be in this contemplative state. And yeah, I think it's regarded like with because it's part of a high-end culture. It's always like really, really clean and really, really yeah, serious. So I think one of the things we wanted to do is don't make it like that serious, and also try to work with the tools that were available to us like in really easy. So we made some GIFs. We made these kind of videos that are low quality. And also because well, I was inspired by Daniel's video because a lot of the piracy content that he was showing in his video about the video game being pirated go into this glitch mode when they realize your copy is illegal. So I think for me personally, I wanted to take that kind of aesthetic. It was a really 90s kind of aesthetic, and yeah, I think it also always resorts to the idea of the glitch in the piracy, like it's broken down. It's what you're doing is wrong, and that's why it's falling apart, right? And in this actual state of the world where everything is falling apart, I think I wanted to take it less serious and make yeah a powerful statement, but within something that was really legible and easy to engage with, made for everyone, I guess.
I think yeah. I think for me it's mostly because that actually most of the serious problem it's happened in like very joyful daily life, like when we are watching the Hollywood comedies and maybe unconsciously we are colonized. So that's how things happens in all this playful looking like activities. And I also like the idea from Agamben. It's like you have to have a playful attitude to destroy some very robust things. So yeah, I think that's the reason why. Because the archive I've made, it's different. It's far away from the time period. It's far away from this video. But when I looking back to the archive, I decide to choose like a very like humorous way of my own body that is pushed by the sun, by all this stuff. So yeah, I think it's a attitude changing in myself.
Can you talk a little bit about the pieces of text that have been omitted from this book?
This actually this book it's this that I mimic the tone of the colonizer to rewrite all the texts I collected from the internet, and the texts that are covered in this book are the texts that to do something to do with the colonial discourse. So after I read this I rewrote this, I covered them again. And this book now it's an totally innocent information collection now again. Like when I found them from the internet. But the aim of the text, the information has been changed by myself. Yeah.
Mm. And what platform did you guys use to build the site?
We're using the Wix. Yeah.
So this kind of like mask that you've got cut in around the video works really well. And the way that you've shot that archive footage of the book, you know, is kind of, I think everything kind of complements each other really nicely, and I'm enjoying spending time with the site, especially this homepage, the way that it flickers with that kind of police image in the back as well. I think another really good example of how, in very simple ways, we can produce something that has quite a big impact and allows an audience to to stay with a site, you know, to stay with something that exists in the internet when we don't feel like we have time to stay with something. Often you can just do something like that Flickr, and it kind of really works quite well. How did you get the ship to be moving around over on each page?
It's coding in JavaScript. It's coded to move, and it's moving around the same pattern in each page.
And how do you guys feel in reflection about the project, that you've kind of brought 3 individual practices together under kind of a curatorial remit, if you will, that really does support and kind of challenge who you are? Do you feel like there might be some kind of continuity or legacy to this project, or a continued exploration or collaboration at all?
Well, I think that the site could be expanded. I don't know if we're going to do that. For me, I would like to blur the lines between pages, like to kind of erase this notion of authorship, because that's also part of the colonial thing, right? Like this site is mine and this site is yours. So maybe try to blur that line. I think that would be better if we keep working on that. Also, I think for me, it's kind of stepping aside of my own practice of the discourse that I usually engage, but I really enjoy the collaboration with Tria and with Daniel. I think we are a great group that also not only listen to each other, but always have something to add on top of what we're doing. So yeah, I'm excited. If not through this side, I'm excited to continue collaborating with them.
Yeah, I think
Fantastic.
it's a dialogical process. Like we have been talking about ideas and feelings and how we relate to some things, and we match a lot in common places. So I think it's a good point of start at some point. And I think as the own process of our own processes have going through this like everyday work, it could be the website could be evolving too.
Thank you. Any comments or thoughts from the group? Okay. I'm aware of time, and we have got 4 more projects to look at. So we might run over from 12:30 a little bit. if you guys are happy to stay around. We could just have a quick 5-minute break, or we can carry on. It's up to you guys.
Break. Break. We could have break.
I think a break will
We'll have
be
a
fine.
quick 5-minute break. Yeah, that sounds good to me too. All right, we'll go and make a quick cup of tea and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Alexis, I've just received your email about changing the names on the website, and I will do that. But if you're happy to continue for now, we can move to room 4 and hear about your project, which is called Inner Chaos Agency. So I will share my screen. Are you guys happy to... Oh, hang on. Is there anyone here from that group? No. Oh. Maybe not. There is someone here, but they haven't got their name in the Zoom. Who's SC121? Oh, they've left. Okay. So, Ruying, you're here. Are you happy to talk about your project and we'll move to room 6?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. So let me just get your...
Yeah, maybe I can go first.
Yeah, I'll get your website on my screen. Okay, so I'll
Yes,
hand over to you.
my portrait. It is for my works. It is maybe is a virtual exhibition for myself. It to showcase my work to related to cosplay. So after you came into this website, you can see in the central here is a curtain, and you can click this curtain. And after it, you need to log in. If you are not convenient to show this, I can share my screen. Okay. How do you share a screen? I found the button. Oh, sorry, it's my first time to use Zoom, so I need to make it have my authority. So I need to log in again. Sorry, I will log in again.
Are you good? Okay. Let me just share the website as we wait. Oh, maybe this is also a good time to ask, who is that in the meeting with the name SC121?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Hi, it's
Stella. Hi.
Hi, okay. All right, we'll move on to you after Ruying has come back.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to do it. I think sorry. Too many things together. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. It's So this is my project. When you came into it, it was like some glitch effect. And after it, you can see this is stable and you can click it. And I made a small, first view website like before. And in this website, it was all my portraits models in here. And if you enter my space, you can see the works I do before. There is some cosplay pops, I remake it. And also there is some image I ever use and some elements I always like to use in my work, like some lace and like clay and some transparent work. And I do these things in 3D scan. After I put it in the whole space, I hope my audience can have the feelings or something you're in a glitch world. And this glitch can help you to have the new thinking about how you to look about the virtual world or what the virtual world can help us to share our idea. After it, I came back to my screen. There was the works I do before. So if you click every image, there was the artwork I do was related to cosplay before. This is the first one. And the project 2 is you can see these elements are already in the virtual space before I make it into 3D scanned model. And this was the project 2. And project 3 is about some guns and the magic wand. And I related it to the fan work, like some paper and some wires mesh. And the last work, it is about, I related all the elements I used before, like some blade, some lace, the wire mesh, and some glitch powders, and I made it together and put it into a small website, and I also do the effects like some glitch. And if you click about my work, I just want to say we can create a new work in the virtual space. This is my portrait, and and you can now I think you can share it on your screen now. And I can talk about my ideas. My project is want to explore how online medium can extend the voice about, like cosplay or something. Because actually we are all doing cosplay every day. In Judith Butler's performativity theory, everyone, even though our gender or our social role, we are already displayed. So I think we can do more, not in the reality world, we can do more in the virtual world. So maybe you do the online platform, it is an intersection to blur the boundary about reality and virtual. So like this platforms, I think we can show our creativity and our personnel and also our social concern inside it. And it can transcend the geographical and cultural boundary. And even though we are in the virtual space, it will have the censorship system, or maybe some internet police will censorship what we are doing. But I think it already put voice, host a extend space, or maybe a temporary space for us to do more things, not just in the real world, not just in physical. And in here, the people can have their small space to create their fan community. And after more and more people can share their works online, and more power can stick together, and they can share their rebellion and their dissent. So maybe it can become a catalyst for the social change. And it can also to challenge the traditional norms. So I do this work. And also I do this work, you maybe you will think it is very girly, or it is not really like the work in the white cube. Because there is another reason I do this online exhibition is that in the academic or the traditional art system or the white cube system, some work like fan art or some works from like teenager, they are not really recognize your work. But if you change your identity, you can, if you are a white man and you can appropriate this culture from the girl, from the teenager, from the fan art, that you will have a incredible recognized by the expertise or by the professional person. So I think it is very unfair, because every artwork have their value and it responds the artist's meaning. So if the work in the reality world has the less opportunity to be shown, or they can be seen in the real world. So I think it definitely should create more space for this fan art or the teenager art. So I think it is also a way to challenge the mainstream. So I made this work. Yeah.
Thank you, Ruiying. I think it's been really good to see how you have kind of used this opportunity to, you said at the beginning, give yourself a virtual exhibition. So you've used it as like a portfolio website where you can go and visit the documentation from various exhibitions that you, or kind of installs that you've done, which helped to connect the virtual with the physical works that you've been making. But you've also created this virtual world through the New Art City platform as another way of reinterpreting a practice. And you mentioned you use 3D scan. Could you expand a little bit on that, and how you feel about that virtual world representing your practice, in addition to how you feel about showing photographs of real life works rather than the scanned works?
Yeah, in the first time I do my the group object, I was use all 3D objects, and it also can provide a more directly experience for the audience. But there has a severe problem is that not every device or any audience are convenient to get into the world, because it also needs some technician, more advanced technician device that you can do that. If you use an old system computer, maybe you cannot see the whole effect on it. So in this time, first time I built a 2D website at first, and after that I link the 3D park into it. So if you are not available to see the 3D park, and you can change the different park to see the 2D park. And also the 2D park, even though I put some text or something to explain what it is, but I think it is not really clearly to see the whole aspect about the work. So I think it is better to combine both 3D and 2D together to help the audience to engage the visit thinking. And so I put my website in different pictures about Portrait 1, Portrait 2, and the central one is about the 3D space. So it is also like a map for the audience to choose their routine to visit this exhibition. Yeah.
You can also drag and drop
Yeah.
these around the space as well, which is nice.
And only the central one cannot be dragged.
Would you be happy to share your screen again, just so that we can have another look around the virtual world?
Okay. Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So in here, in the Newark City, because before the last time, I was upload some large objects. So this time I used 3D scan. It's also, it cannot be too much. The size will be compressed. So I use 3D scan this time. So
when you say 3D scan, is that a software, or you mean you've used a scanner, 3D scanner, to scan your object?
3D scanner. Because my object is not very big, I can just use the 3D scan and transform it into the 3D apps and make it into the right format, and I can log in this platform. So my work in 2D, it was so like the picture, but in here, even though it is not really like the real one, but you can also in general to see its texture and the color I choose. And this is the one. But and also I want to do the effect like glitch, because glitch is also a meaning. It was very quite different, like the form or the rules. It is also a way to change and challenge our daily rule, because a glitch, it is impossible, and you are not really to think about why the glitch will come out or how you can change your glitch. So I think it is also another way for me to show my resistance. So this is the best side, and this is the, yeah. And I all choose the colors and the material like a little bit transparent and occupancy. So I do this. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Any comments or thoughts from the group? You guys are in a privileged position whereby I'm sure you've seen Riying's work in its real life physical context, and so you can kind of see how there's been this retranslation of the work into the digital space, and I'll be interested to hear what your thoughts are on needing to represent both within one place in order to understand a practice.
I think that for Ray, the cosplay thing is a really powerful political stance. She has said in different occasions how cosplay relates to different kind of protests in China, and how she's trying to build a visual language that challenges the status quo from her own perspective, right? And I believe that taking that into a digital space, into an online space, is another way of making a demonstration maybe. It's also taking like a non-physical space, but it's actually taking the protest into another part of another part of the world, another space that is digital, but has a chance to appeal to a wider audience. So I think it makes sense with what she's trying to do. I wish it was more like an extension of her actual practice rather than just a display. But I get that by making that display of her own work, is she's trying to do more with the things that she has already done.
Thank you, Checo.
How do you, Checo, how do you see the development of her practice sitting within this virtual space? And for you, what kind of things does that look like? Or could that look like?
Well, I think that the online space offers the possibility to cosplay in another way. I think that she could actually build a avatar with a lot of sorry, I've been talking without the microphone. I think that the online space offers another way to do the cosplay. I think that to build a avatar that she could inhabit and to do a lot of actions through that avatar could be another way to relate to the cosplay and to the protest. I've seen some Instagram accounts lately that have built like an AI models. Like when I say model, I'm thinking more like a fashion model, not like a render. I've seen people that are doing a whole inexistent person through AI and through digital means. And I think that's another step of cosplay that Ray could do, like to build a character that take place through an online through an online space, but in real world.
Yeah, it's a really interesting reference to bring up there. I was reading something just the other day about those accounts that now have these AI models are bringing in, hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars worth of revenue as well. So they really are starting to have the kind of, having quite a big influence and power through these kind of online platforms. There was also something I heard the other day about various AI integrated softwares into kind of robots and whatnot, who are now got to that stage where they believe that they've got consciousness. So there is this kind of interesting interplay between the kind of the representation of who we might be through these characters, but then pushing that to the next level where they start to take on their own understanding of themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely lots of exciting avenues for continued exploration there, Bree. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, so shall we move on to Stella? Stella is in room 7. And I'll get your site up. I'm just going to mute you, Stella, for now while we have a look at the site, just in case there's a conflict of sound. I think it might be better if you share your screen, if that's possible, just because it seems to be quite slow online.
Yes, if you give me 1 minute, I'll just have to connect myself to my laptop because I am having some connection issues. But if you give me 2 minutes.
Okay, I think we're just waiting for Stella to rejoin. So while we're waiting then, just for those of you that are here, could I ask you to kind of summarise the project that you've been involved in throughout this year, that being, you know, how you've worked through the Pixel Elements course to kind of readdress your practice. Stella, you've just rejoined, but I'm just asking the group just to reflect just for a minute, so maybe you can have a bit more time to get yourself set up. I would be super interested just to hear kind of how that journey has gone for you to this end point, and kind of the reflection on how that's impacted on the way that you might work moving forward. If anyone would like to turn on their microphone and just kind of very small kind of snippet of the impact that this Pixel Elements course may have had. Stella, no, I didn't see your message. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your message earlier.
That's okay. Do you want me to share my screen now, or do you want to wait a bit for the conversation that you just made?
Yeah, no, let's go ahead. You can share your screen now, that's fine.
You can see everything, yes?
Yes.
All right. I'm not sure if you will be. I'm not sure if you are able to hear the page as well.
No, we can't hear it.
I can hear it. Maybe it will be easier if people. Let me just mute it for myself because I can't hear myself through that. I think it's something with my settings that when I share my screen, people cannot hear the sound. I had it a few times already. So maybe it's easier if everyone kind of loads the page for their own, since it really is interactive page as well, and kind of everyone should kind of have the go-through experience of kind of exploring the page on their own as well. Should I go through it anyways?
Yes, yeah, I think that would be useful. Thank you.
All right. So to explain the project, so it is something that I was developing for like a longer period of time. Obviously, since it's like beginning, it did have to have like a lot of updates and different ways how to like kind of reach what I wanted to do. So this project is online-based project, which I named Genesis, and it's completely created by the use of AI. So basically, when the viewer goes through the page, it kind of reveals the storyline, which was created by generative AI, which I kind of trained from the script through the sound, through the images. Everything is basically entirely artificially created by artificial intelligence. So the point of the website is kind of to through sarcasm and humor to kind of explore like dynamics and exchanges in, I would say, in our nowadays like interconnected age. I'm trying to like challenge the belief that cultural aspects are kind of confined to specific cultures, criticizing ideas of like cultural ownership, purity, and like singular origins through using like quotes or like sayings or like teachings, books of scholars through the history, such as Samuel Huntington or like René Guénon, which were basically claiming that culture is something singular. There should be like a cultural purity and cultures should not be mixed, which in my own practice, it's something that I'm trying to challenge. It's something that I'm trying to, to challenge and to kind of confront and to talk about it. So you can see that when you are moving the cursor, it kind of changes the image, which is messing up with the image, which is like pixelated. The pixels for me kind of are representing the small fragments which like even this world is being created and how it is and everything interconnected, and all those like small fragments of everything kind of create like the bigger image. And it's the same with the culture, I would say. So when you continue kind of scrolling through the website, you start like discovering the whole storyline. I do think that people should like try to load it in their browsers after, as there is like sound incorporated into this. And it kind of helps you lead you through the website and explore the storyline, as the text, which is on the left side, is just like to lead you through it, but there still is like more storyline within the audio on its own. So the viewer kind of has like different tasks to do through the website. As you can see here on the left side, there are like these little buttons which kind of tells you what to do to kind of discover the image, to kind of like unveil it, I would say. So in this one, you are basically supposed to, let me move this if I can. So you are supposed to kind of find the images of the two scholars which were basically claiming the ideas about the cultural purity, since the devil created them in the storyline, and the devil is kind of supposed to believe them. But kind of the devil decides that no, and he's not gonna like, he won't accept the multicultural pot which the god wanted to create. The funny thing about this is that since it's like AI generated, there are these ideas that yes, that AI is racist, or kind of it is being fed by the majority, or like the information and the histories the majority are feeding it. And it is true, because like when you read the scenario, when you listen to it,
I think Stella's computer's been targeted by AI to stop her from talking about it.
the AI used, I would never do it, for example. So the website where you kind of, can you still hear me, or?
We lost you for a little bit.
We lost you. Yeah, it sounded as if you were being taken over by AI.
I'm so sorry. Is it okay now?
It's much better now, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I don't know where I kind of stopped, but
You were just about to talk about something really interesting, which is about the biased and kind of right wing, I think, accusation of AI and its kind of knowledge and
all
understanding.
right. I said so much after that it will be hard to kind of come back to it. I'm so sorry for my connection. But yeah, what I wanted to say is basically that I'm kind of trying to explore the ideas that people nowadays are accusing AI from being racist, from being like only influenced by like the majority and being fed by the information and the histories that majority is giving it to it. So while I was kind of training the AI and just kind of giving it very, very basic information about what kind of script I want to create, it kind of did create a script that I found myself like racist. And well, I would not be very comfortable raising up some of the phrases or some opinions that the AI kind of generated through the script. So I think it's kind of a good kind of like a mirror to like what we created and how dangerous it is. That's why basically even at the end of the story, the humanity kind of reaches its doomsday, and God kind of decides to leave for like vacation, as AI called it, and kind of let the world be taken over by AI, which at the end of the story decides that that only thing how to kind of save humanity or how to make it work is through kind of algorithm, through monotones kind of voices, through no diversity, through something that can be like predictable, something that can be programmed, that we know what to like expect, like. So that's where the story kind of ends. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You could hear the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to spending some time with it myself. How do you feel about the story kind of ending like that in relation to the issues that you found with the AI generating elements that were
Yeah, I would definitely say that it's very problematic, the end itself, because there is this fear coming through from people that yes, they are scared, even not just artists, but people doing their everyday jobs, that one day they will be taken over by AI and their jobs will be taken and there will be nothing left for us. So it's really funny that even the artificial intelligence itself like understands this and kind of came to this end. On one hand, it's scary. On the other hand, it's humorous. But until when, you know, everything is jokes and fun until it becomes true. So
that's true. I think we talked a little bit about humor earlier, and like, you know, it can be a useful tool for talking about quite challenging subjects. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is stuff that actually exists and is having an impact on people's lives and will continue to until we feel like we are empowered enough to make a difference. And I think this is quite a poignant, there's been a few things we've spoken about today, and this project that you've made is also sits in this world, this realm of being quite poignant right now when we're about to go through a general election in this country, and there's been a lot of political upheaval, and there will continue to be in Europe and beyond, and kind of, you know, the situation that's taking place and has been taking place in Palestine. You know, it's kind of really revealing this darker side, and throughout history, there are so many examples of this dark side to humanity, but it's you know, it's amazing that we could kind of like touch upon these issues through these projects that you guys have done throughout this Pixel Elements course. So I kind of want to congratulate you on that, and I think this discussion could continue for a long time, because some of these issues, you know, are deep rooted and kind of challenging to see a way out of. As someone that's been working with AI, though, Stella, what's your position on trying to make a change with it? Do you think, how do you think that could happen? Whose responsibility is that? What tools have you used to make this project, and kind of are they the tools that are being used by the masses? I did hear the other day that ChatGPT is now more popular, or could be more popular than Google quite soon. And so I'm interested to hear your thoughts on some of these things.
I do believe that the problem is it's rooted in like the genesis itself of AI, like since its beginning, and how it kind of became and how it was constructed. And the problem really is that it is being used by those huge corporates, which are of course like funding it, and they are looking for cheaper ways how to kind of replace I would say even like human intelligence, obviously, because in some kind of a way, this order and the predictability and all those aspects that I like earlier talked about, like they are something that humanity is missing, some kind of like ability to follow the order, ability to follow like the algorithm or whatever it is. I do believe that the problem is how the AI is made and for who it is made, as I said. Earlier, maybe last week, I saw a quote from someone who were basically saying that as an artist, I don't want AI to create an images for me, so then I can go and do my dishes and do the laundry and do whatever. Like I do want AI to do my dishes and do my laundry so I can be an artist. But the problem is that the corporates, the people who are building the AI for themselves, they don't care about this. They are finding a ways how to kind of raise less questions. And I do believe that the problem is there. I do fear it because obviously it is a big step for humanity and like for artists themselves as well, since I don't really know where will this lead us. One thing is to kind of be accepting about it and find our way how to use it. But the second thing is like the many problems that it is raising. For example, the fact that now Instagram, or better said Meta, said that they will train their AIs based on the images that we post online. That's one thing. Second thing is that, for example, today I saw that there is new update for iOS devices, right? And there's this part where you can, for example, on an iPad, write down a math problem, and it is gonna sort out on its own thanks to this. And when I like recall to my like teenage ages, like having problems with maths, like it kind of is raising up the questions like, where are we going? Like it does make me feel that people will be so interconnected with it that it will be so hard to step out of it, that it will become impossible, that it will become an active part of our life. And it is turning into like episode of I don't know, some dark Netflix series, but it is what it is.
Gosh, yeah, it is scary. And maybe a fitting note to end today's discussion on the dystopia that we're about to enter into. I guess, as this kind of reflection on that, it is down to people like us to challenge the systems and the conventions and the kind of tools and the expectations, showcasing, how these things are being used, who they're being used by, who they were built for, how those roles and those responsibilities have kind of changed. A lot of things to do with technology was originally built and designed to be used through the military. And now they're being accessed through the masses, and we are at this kind of time where there is issues changes happening within political landscapes across the globe, and it's I think it is the younger generation that can make change, but it is also the younger generation that are rooted and influenced more by these tools of technology than ever before. So yeah, big questions for us to try and tackle and make change with. But thank you so much to everyone that shared their projects today. I think I found it really insightful. I've definitely learned a lot through you. I hope that you feel that you've benefited from this course and that it's kind of helped you to explore things in slightly different ways that you would have maybe never had the chance or inclination to do previously. So yes, I want to celebrate your participation and your dedication to the project and to thank you for continuing with it and with me along the past year. So yes, virtual round of applause. Thank you very much, guys, and we can end it there. The recording from today will be available on demand on the transference.tv website. Your projects will remain live if you're happy for them to for the foreseeable and can be added to the other projects that are still live from previous years. I will be continuing to promote your work through the Transference TV website over the next couple of weeks as well, if you're happy for me to do that. And obviously promote some of the extracts from this conversation as well. Have a great summer. Yeah, hope to see you at the degree shows that's coming up. And yeah, thank you very much, everybody. I will stop the recording there.
Thank you very much, Candice.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice summer
Rest
as
of your
well.
day.
Have a good day.
Bye.
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 Bye.